Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Couple Nurses Podcast with your hosts, Peter Findero and myself, Matt Slarchik. This is a podcast where we tackle current health news and hot nursing topics, one conversation at a time. Guys, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for listening, subscribing. As you know, the jazz, give us a 5-star. We appreciate it. And this is Current Health News episode 16. I know you guys have been waiting for this one. We've been busy all damn week. We actually had 5 interviews this week, so we've been kind of hustling, man. And secretly, Sunday, we recorded the first episode to our vlog, which we'll be releasing in the next, I believe, 2-3 weeks. That's a guaranteed 2-3 weeks.
Like no, it's not guaranteed 2-3 weeks.
It is.
It's not. I'm gonna put money on it right now.
Well, we're going to travel nursing in like 5 weeks, so it has to be released prior to that.
It'd probably be like 4 weeks. I feel like we might actually not even release it. We're gonna release right before travel nursing. I feel like we're gonna have it and we're gonna show a few companies, but I don't think we're actually officially gonna release it because we're gonna need a few of them in a row before we actually start releasing them. So it's every week, you know.
Very good point.
Yeah, I know. I've learned my lesson with these with these dates that we throw out at you guys.
Yeah, so we were sorry about that one, right? I don't say sorry often because I'm the unapologetic male sometimes, but
I'm not gonna apologize because I didn't say anything.
Okay, I am sorry here to all the fans, all the listeners, but yeah, definitely 3-4 weeks. We're gonna have it out. I'm gonna quote this one. I'm gonna make sure I'm gonna push the buttons and everything. I'm gonna wake up Peter early in the morning if the shit doesn't get done. So anyways, PD, how we doing today? And let's talk about some freaking stats on the C19.
I'm doing good. I'm trying to see if I can hit the gym real quick before work. And yeah, just being busy, so busy that I can't even sleep on my day off, which is not really a big deal. I just sleep after my day off, I guess. But yeah, all right, guys, so COVID stats, COVID is still pushing hard, booming. COVID's probably pushing content harder than we're pushing content, but I ain't gonna talk shit. So cases, a little over 23 million globally, with almost 800K deaths. California is still leading the U.S. with the cases at 654,000 with 11,000 deaths. Then we got Florida next with 593,000 cases with 10,000 deaths. Then Texas, the great state of Texas, Joe Rogan's moving there, so maybe we'll do a contract there sometime just to see Joe Rogan. So Texas has 590,000 cases with 10,000 deaths. A little more, 10,700 to be exact, a little bit more than Florida. Then of course New York, still strong there with 458,000 cases with 32,000 deaths, almost 33,000. And Georgia sliding in for fifth with 249,000 cases with around 5,000 deaths. I feel like this is like a competition. I feel like maybe we should take this a little more seriously here. I'm gonna put a more serious voice next time, so I feel like I'm naming out states like a competition, like who's first is the best, but it's not how it is. People are dying. No, it's no joking matter.
Definitely not. And we're actually going to be going to California in mid-September, so that's the number one state there. So
hopefully we don't get COVID. I mean, they have the most cases, but that's why it's New York. Like, I'm kind of curious for nurses that traveled from California to New York or vice versa to see how differently they handle COVID or how different they felt. But I feel like that's going to be more like a hospital kind of thing, more like a state thing. Because, even though we have like our state-run hospitals and we have our private hospitals, like things are still different in between hospitals. Like, yeah, it's supposed to be like one standard system, but sometimes people are lacking PPE, which I don't think is an issue right now, but the way they handle these COVID cases might be a little different from hospital to hospital.
It's also going to depend on the physician, man. When I was in the ICU, even though it's the same damn unit in the same hospital, it depends which physician is on, and they'll do things differently, man. You got physicians that are putting in damn chest tubes, Then you'll have another physician that will keep that same chest tube, and he'll manipulate it a little bit to see if the lung is going to re-expand.
Yeah.
Just like manipulating the vents, man. Sometimes they do different settings for these patients, and I'll have a physician that asked about like vitamin D or something. He's like, oh, that's bullshit, Another physician might be for it. So I think it just really depends per person, man. And that's the thing about healthcare, that it's the doctor to patient relationship.
Yeah, especially now with the virus, we've been having it since March, so it's been like what, 6 months? March, April, May, June, July, August.
I'm glad you can count.
Almost 6 months, and like we're still not really sure on like what to do. That's crazy how long it takes for us to kind of gather the research and finally figure out how this virus actually works, because it just takes that long of studying it. If you go to school, imagine how much how much years of science class you're taking, years and years just to learn that field. So this is a new virus, so it's going to take us such a long time to actually learn how this virus replicates, what it does, how it damages things, how it affects you genetically, what are the short-term effects compared to what are the long-term effects. Because, we might find a cure for this virus, and just because we find a cure for it and it solves our solution now with getting rid of it and fighting it, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, people still might be getting sick from COVID-19 because we're not really sure what the long-term effects are from this virus. It's because you cleared it from your body, or your body built out a tolerance for it. It might have damaged some of your genetic cells, or might have damaged your cells genetically, where you're gonna have it come up in the future. Like TB, like people have latent TB, and technically you might never get active TB, but some people have latent TB that turns into active, 15 years from now, 20 years from now. Some people have latent TB and they don't develop any symptoms ever. So it might be something like that. Like you guys, you never know.
Not only that, but this whole thing became very political, right? Because of like the election and the shit that we're seeing on Facebook, and that's taken things longer, and that's why we maybe had more resistance, because as Americans we kind of love our freedoms in a way. And we interviewed somebody from Poland, and they were straight business there, man. Like I was even shocked. The way things worked is if you had COVID positive, you actually had to quarantine, and you had police officers checking up on you daily, or whenever the case might be. Sometimes they would call, or they would ask you to send them your location to see whether you're actually at home. Yeah,
daily had like a tracking app where you get this app on your phone, and to verify your place, it would be the trap spot. The app tracks your location, so the app's gonna tell you he's located here, but you also have to verify with a picture that, because some people could they had download a hack where change your location, like VPN, things like that. Like for Pokemon Go, there's like a hack where you could travel all around the United States back in whenever it was popular, like last year or whatever, spoofing is called or something like that. And people could do this, but they took an extra measure of saying, hey, not only do we gotta know where you are all the time with this app, we also want a picture to make sure that you are at home. And you can't really fake a home, because not everyone has a studio or a green screen that can just put a picture of their living room on, right? So that's actually pretty crazy. And like the fact that our friend Luke, and now you heard Matt say that literally a police officer would go into the village or the town literally to like check up on you. Because in Poland, there's still places where people don't really use cell phones too much. Like our older generation in Poland, they don't really use like the apps on cell phones. So they literally would have a police officer posted in their village or in their town to check up on them to make sure they don't leave, because they're not wanting to spread. Which, imagine if that happened here. Dude, there'd be so much riots. If a police officer had to come, if a police officer in the U.S. had to come to your home to make sure you are there, people would shit their pants. They would freak out.
Yeah.
They would think communism. They would think,
fascism.
This is what Hitler did to his people, which is like, yeah, I would not want that to happen. But look at countries like in Poland where they did it, and that's the way they did things, and no one said anything. I'm sure people were upset about it, but what can you do? I'm sure Poland was spreading massive amounts of fear that, hey, if you go somewhere, you're gonna die. And we probably could have looked up some stats for Poland, see how they're doing with the virus. But for the most part, our friend Luke said it's contained. And you also mentioned that Poland built a new university hospital, and that hospital was finished being built in March. So that actually came in clutch for Poland's benefit, because they had a brand new hospital, and they devoted that brand new hospital as the COVID hospital of like Poland and in the area.
So that's pretty dope. What else is happening in the world, right? So Pelosi, as you guys know, before we kind of let the whole Congress, the whole House kind of go on vacation in a way. And Pelosi, which is the leader of the Democrats in the House, kind of called back everybody for a emergency hearing. One of them was with the Postal Service that's happening. So we're fearing that there might be a delay in ballots. So summer recess is cut short. And we're going to see what's going to happen about that. We're worried that if November 3rd happens, what if there's still a week of ballots to go through? How
mail-in voting?
Yeah, we're talking about mail-in voting. Like, how is that going to work, So that was happening. And then also supposedly our President Trump, he was supposedly intentionally blocking federal funding to U.S. Postal Service, which is not like a confirmed fact. This is just something that he said on a interview. So we can't even confirm that's actually factual information.
Yeah, I don't know how you would block federal funding. Like post office has one job, is to take your mail and then deliver it to another place. So if you block federal funding for that, the whole system would kind of go to shit because it has one task: take mail from point A, bring it to point B, and then disperse it to point C, right? So if you take away funding, it's going to affect the whole country. It's federally run, so I don't think that's very, very factual. But if you guys are talking about mail-in voting, like we've had mail-in voting for the past elections, but it was only in certain cases, not this widespread issue. My thing is like, I'll be honest, like sometimes for my association, because I pay monthly association, sometimes I would get the mail from them and I would send out the check like the next day or like the next 2 days in like a timely manner. But then like I recently got a receipt from it and saying, so I sent it out like July like 4th or 5th. I sent out my association, and here I got credited for the mail coming into whoever goes July 16th. That's not very fair, right? It's not. It just shows you how slow it is. Because if I send my mail while the 4th, the 5th, or the 6th, and they didn't get it till the 16th, that's like a 10 plus day turnaround, and it's only I'm literally on the south side of Chicago, and my mail is going to like a northern part of Chicago. Like it shouldn't take them that long to get the mail, right? So that just shows you how kind of ineffective it is, how ineffective it would be for the mail-in voting in large scale. Like small scale, it's fine because post office can handle going through all this mail, but large scale, definitely not a good idea. Especially if you want a high turnover. If you want to do mail-in voting, then hey, we maybe shouldn't announce the election results on November 3rd. We should maybe say, hey, you got to vote by November 3rd, but then we'll actually announce the election results by November 10th or whatever. That would be another option, if you think about it logically, because if you can't account for all the votes by mail within that 24-hour period, then we shouldn't expect it to be done at 24-hour period, Like, I don't see an issue either, one, do less voting by mail, or B, change the actual date of when the results are supposed to be published.
Well, Peter, this is like a holiday for people, man. So you can't just be like, okay, we're gonna push back Easter a week.
Yeah, I mean, we can't. That's what I'm saying. But it's a solution. If you guys really want to be able to voting, then hey, let's just not force us to get done within this 12-hour period because it's impossible. So it's either A, we downscale this mail-in voting, or B, change the fucking results date. Like that's like the two choices that we really have. So you got to give and take one or the other. You
make it seem very simple. Maybe you should run for the the USPS office. But
mayor of Chicago.
I actually worked for UPS. I was a forklift operator, and we used to send out shipments all the damn time. We had to make cut times. Sometimes we had to. This is not mail, but we had to go through the whole trailer just to take a pallet out to get it on. Let's just say make it by 6 p.m. so it could go to St. Louis to make it to that customer that morning. And sometimes you can't make it happen. Sometimes you forgot a shipment that's on the dock, and then we're like, oh shit, well, we'll just send that out tomorrow. So there's instances, there's a delay, and especially with 300 million Americans in the United States, and now with this whole C-19, you kept calling it COVID, by the way, so trying to avoid the word here. With such a large scale, it's going to be a huge demand. So they either have to increase funding or somehow expand. Yeah, so I think they're trying to pass a bill that would grant USPS like $25 billion to help with that.
Yeah, another issue is like who's looking at these votes. I'm sure you guys seen a video circulating on the internet that had the return envelopes. They had like the serial number, and then they either had an R or a D in it, depending on if you were a registered Democrat or registered Republican. And like, who's to say that somebody might not be like completely against Biden and might destroy all the Democratic envelopes, right?
Yeah.
Or someone that's for Trump and is gonna destroy all the the Democratic voting envelopes. Because if it says D and R on it, like technically our votes are supposed to be private, right? People aren't supposed to know who we vote for, right? Otherwise, we could just use an app and just vote like via the app or whatever. But yeah, that completely takes away that right as like your voter right. And like, who's to say that maybe people in the higher level of the voting system, they might not do it, but maybe a male person might do it that really has an anger towards Trump or really has an anger towards Biden. Like it go both ways. So, the best way to vote is still to do it in person, and it's still okay to vote in person. Like people are in grocery stores, people are still shopping, and the grocery clerks are there. The people still work at registers, and their job's deemed safe, right? And they could deal with people and handle their food all day. And now for voting, it's gonna be unsafe. Like how does that make any sense that you could still pay in a cash register face to face with a person, buy groceries, but now it's too dangerous to vote. People stand in lines for DMVs, and now it's too dangerous to vote. If you're higher age, you're at higher risk, but if you're higher in age, you could vote by mail. Like that's logical approach, because that way it doesn't clog the system in like the USPS. And with the DMV, if you guys don't know, if you're above a certain age, they let you cut the line, and everyone's okay with it. Like we understand that you're older. This is the time that we face. Like I'm okay with you cutting me in line. It doesn't matter if I'm first or last. So we could definitely make it work on that. It doesn't have to be. You don't have to swing so dramatically that everyone has to vote by mail all of a sudden. Like it doesn't make any sense. Like why should it take a dramatic turn?
Well, we're a bunch of sheeps, man. In a way, we're just listening to exactly that. Oh, it's dangerous, and this just seems like it's another war. Do you remember like when like 9/11 happened and we were scared that supposedly terrorists are putting like some freaking mustard gas or some kind of agent in our mail
or something,
and people were freaking out. They're like putting on freaking straight up gas masks to open up mail. Like that's like silly, but like that kind of shit does happen, So this is just technically another war that we're fighting, but it's invisible. And that's the problem, because they can say whatever the F they want, and what are we going to deny it? Well, I don't know. There's something floating in the air.
Like the virus is real. Don't get us wrong. The virus does kill people. People are dying from this actual C-19. It's just, personally, I just don't believe that this much hype around it is necessary.
Definitely, man.
Some hype, yes. Not this much hype. Like a scale of 1 to 10, and this hype was a 10, we could probably bump it down to like an 8. Easy, even like a 7 in certain states.
I would go lower, man, but that's just me. Let's keep going, and that's why, like, guys, like you guys are listening to us, and we kind of always keep it real. We just kind of say how it is. We say it unfiltered, and it sucks that some of our episodes get deleted because of that.
That's why we're doing Patreon.
So yeah, in the near future, I was just gonna say that we're going to be doing these like current health news or just topics about random ass shit on Patreon, because we could release it there. We can control who watches it, and we could have it on that platform without getting deleted, and it's going to be completely ours.
Do you want to share a timetable?
I am not sharing any dates, man. Like, we have it already. It's just, like, guys, like...
Figuring out how to make it, like, work in sync and able to have it flow nicely without, taking any breaks or... Because we don't want to release it and then try and figure out how to do it on the show.
Yeah, and then half-ass it. Like, that's not the point.
Because they're just wasting your time, and then the message doesn't get across clearly, Because imagine if us talking to like a really important topic, like imagine if I was talking about like spina bifida, and then we stop every 10 minutes because we gotta fix the screen or something like that. It's not gonna be fun to listen to.
Yeah, but it's definitely coming if you guys are hanging around. Next kind of cool thing. So the first registered coronavirus is called the Sputnik V, which is a Russian vaccine. And it's called Sputnik V because it's named after the first satellite that was released in orbit by the Soviet Union. So President Vladimir Putin announced that.
The Kremlin.
And he announced that it's the first vaccine in the world. And he even added that supposedly his daughter has already taken it and she didn't really have much symptoms. I wouldn't believe that, but...
No way. If you just created a virus, or if you just created a vaccine... And you're president, there's no way you're gonna let your daughter be the first person. She probably got some kind of placebo. She probably got like a water injection, dude. Yeah. For all I know, like who knows? Like, and plus I haven't seen, even if you see it administered, like who knows what's in like that vial and all that jazz. So I'd probably take that with definitely a
grain of salt,
a scoop of salt.
Scoop of salt, yeah, more than a grain. Yeah. And August 12th, they finally started clinical trials, phase 3 for them. And it's interesting how, they're only doing it on 2,000 people in different parts of the country, like Russia, Middle Eastern, Latin America countries like Brazil, UAE, Saudi Arabia. So we'll see what they come up with. I think it's probably going to be great.
Yeah, it might be great.
I think I started watching too much TV. You know how like Trump kind of says shit. But anyways, they're going to mass produce it in September 2020, just like all these other damn vaccine global companies. And it's just going to be like a global race to who could distribute it better and who could,
Yeah, it's interesting. Like he said that his daughter tried it, but yet it went into phase 3 trials on August 12th. And the phase trials is actually the actual human trials. Like first of all, if you're not going to pay past phase 4 and you're letting your daughter take this, like it doesn't really make, no matter how sure you are of it on paper, it's still kind of risky business. That's why I don't think his daughter actually got it.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff happening actually in Eastern Europe. So Belarus, I don't know if that's how you pronounce it in English, but in Polish it's
I think it's
Belarus.
Belarus.
That's the last dictator in Europe is actually under pressure there's mass protests going on all across the country. They're trying to get rid of him. And it's crazy how, the European Union, they're trying to have talks on what they should do. And kind of Putin kind of basically said, like, hey, stay out of this. It's not your business, which is true, because look, and we're going to get into the wars a little bit later down because we have some kind of stuff about the presidents. But, like, America invaded a bunch of countries in Middle East and Russia and everything else. They had to kind of mind their own business, right? But all of a sudden when this is happening in Belarus, like we should just mind our own business, let them figure it out. There's a huge influence with Russia on them. So we shall see. I think he's been a dictator for 23 years.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. It's easy to say, let them figure it out. But if you keep saying, let them figure it out, who's on the other side saying, no, let us figure it out? Like, that's kind of the crazy thing. Is like the United States, we're pretty patriotic. We think that the way we do things here is a lot better than other countries. So a lot of times you want to instill like our political system, our democracy onto other countries that don't have this democracy, which is good. But like, how much is enough? Like, because let's say if we do nothing about it, then who's to say that Russia, which is Belarus's border, on his border, isn't going to intervene? So it's like if you don't do something about it, that allows other countries to step in and do something about it too. So it's kind of like us being the United States, being a world power. Unfortunately, we're daunted with the task of having to do something about every situation because our opinion doesn't matter. Because if you look at the news stations in other countries or like reporting on other countries, people are looking at, hey, what is the U.S. going to do about this? That's like the number one topic. Like, look at Hong Kong. Hong Kong was literally asking us for help.
For help, yeah.
Like, what is the U.S. gonna do about this? And unfortunately, we couldn't really do much.
We didn't do jack shit.
Yeah.
We let China walk over them, take away their freedom, and
because we could have taken a route where, hey, we could have intervened. But the thing is, like, this was more of an issue between like the Great Britain and China because that's where the contract was between, and then Hong Kong being like literally the other side of the hemisphere. It's a lot more difficult for us to kind of intervene with that. And if you look at the positive and negatives about that, like it's sad that Hong Kong got their freedoms taken away and all those laws changed. But if you're looking at it from like economical standpoint and more of a diplomatic standpoint, that does, by U.S. not stepping in and doing anything, that does kind of benefit us because a lot of business is going to leave Hong Kong and it's probably going to enter the U.S. for the most part, just because Hong Kong had a little bit less stricter laws regarding like business, finance than China does.
Two systems, one country.
Yeah, than other countries do. So even though we're taking a loss, it's not as big of a loss as people might think because a lot of that is going to flood hopefully into like Wall Street or into New York or things like that. But it's still unfortunate for Hong Kong, and I'm not saying that we shouldn't have done anything about it. I'm just saying that if you're looking for like a reason why the US didn't do anything, this is kind of like one of the reasons why we didn't really do anything about it.
Yeah, and also because of the year that we're in, it's election year for one, and the second thing is the whole viral thing, so this was like the perfect time for China to just step on boundaries, global boundaries, and do that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
By the way, we shouldn't have mentioned that because that's why our episode got deleted before, man. But let's continue.
Yeah.
So Purdue Pharma, as you guys know, it's a huge pharmaceutical company that makes OxyContin, which is a narcotic that was prescribed for pill. And they were allegedly the role of the epidemic that happened, the opioid epidemic crisis that happened in America. And supposedly, U.S. states claim that they owe a total of $2.2 trillion to combat the freaking damage that it did to all the, states. It's nuts. And in 2019, they filed for bankruptcy when they had over 26,000 lawsuits brought by different cities, countries, and states, including Native American tribes, hospitals, and among other people. The problem is that this company in 2019, filed for bankruptcy, and right now, if you liquidate the company, it's only worth $2 billion. So if you look at everything that happened, we cannot get money back for the damage that they caused. But I think this is just a great lesson to how crazy pharmaceutical companies, work, what kind of influence they have, and that we should kind of maybe push legislation on that because just like you heard about the statins, back in the day, doctors freaking got paid or went to banquet halls. You know, they couldn't receive direct money from these companies. But what they did is instead is they got, you know, reimbursements. They got like, you know, the dinners, the parties, whatever. And this was all happening. And, you know, just like you see these, you know, I don't know what they're called. You know, when somebody comes into the doctor's office and they try to pitch him a pill.
I don't know, marketing people, I guess.
Salespeople, whatever. You know, those guys, right?
Pharmaceutical sales, I guess.
Yeah, pharmaceutical sales. So like it's a business, you know, and a doctor's gonna basically get what is it called? They're going to get convinced to use this pill instead, and they're gonna get kickback. And just like we talk about the whole C19 drugs, you know, they basically do the same damn thing, but one of them has a higher, you know, amount of money that it. I'm sorry, I'm rambling my words here, but basically, one drug costs more than the other, and there's political influence on one drug than the other, and then, you know, we get a little bit of censorship, like Facebook is taking away that word, Plaquel. We can't talk about it. Even right now, I just seen right before we started this show, you know, the QAnon groups, whatever, they're being deleted off Facebook. So how come one side, because basically QAnon, we should tell people what QAnon means.
Yeah, we can. I mean, they actually I don't know about last, but on one of Trump's like viral addresses, a reporter brought up QAnon and I mean, they're basically a conspiracy theory saying that Trump is like a leader for the people that
fighting the deep state.
And these QAnon people are fighting against like pedophilia, like predators, like things like that. It's supposed to be like a very beneficial movement, but it's like conspiracy theory. Like, yeah. But the thing is, like Matt was saying, that they're blocking these remarks with QAnon.
The far right.
I mean, yeah, I guess we consider them far right, but I don't know what they're technically considered far right or far left, but they're more on the right side, you could say. But the thing is, like Matt was saying, that you could block these posts by these QAnon people, but then like you have Antifa posts being fine. Like people talk about Antifa, like BLM is a good group, but there's members of the BLM movement that aren't the best individuals, and like they're posting stuff and it's okay. So it's like if you censor one side, you have to censor the other side too. Otherwise, you're just causing havoc, because the side's getting censored is going to be upset, and they're not going to have a voice, and it's going to lead them to cause more outbursts. But then you're giving the other side a bigger platform now too, right? So that's why censorship is kind of crazy. I think not a lot of things should be censored, if any at all. And I feel like as people, as individuals, as intellectual individuals, we should be able to discern what's truth and what's not, right? I would prefer somebody give me everything uncensored than a little bit of censored stuff, because then I could at least discern. Like, I'm not saying that like we shouldn't censor like these gross images, and we shouldn't censor pedophilia, like things like that. But those are like a huge part. Those are like on opposite side of the spectrum. Like, you know, like we shouldn't let those things you know, get passed by the system, which I could agree. I'm sure everyone could agree. Like things like that should not be allowed to be viewed anywhere or done anywhere, right? But things like Alex Jones and his opinions, like why do we censor that guy? Yes, the shit that comes out of his mouth it's crazy, but let the guy talk, because he does make some valid points sometimes. But then if you shut him down, guess what? You shut down all his followers, and that just makes him angry, makes him upset. So they're gonna talk more shit, because then if they keep saying, "Hey, you guys are bad, you guys are bad," and guess what? You shut them down. That the way you're trying to hide, kind of thing. You know, get mentality. I'm not saying that by shutting Alex Jones down, people are hiding stuff. I'm just saying that's what people come to that conclusion, that because they shut us down and we've been saying that they're bad, then they must be bad. You get it?
No, I get it. It's a double-edged sword, man. Dualism, essentially. And Alex Jones was he had a website called InfoWars, and he just had a bunch of, I guess, conspiracy stuff on there, and like he got deleted off Facebook, Instagram, then he got literally silenced off YouTube, Apple, all these platforms. Like, it's mind-blowing, you know, like why delete the person, you know? So like, and that's like the shit that always makes me think about stuff. Like, dude, there has to be an agenda greater than what we see on television, because it just doesn't make sense. There's people out there in the world that are just getting slowly silenced or censored, and if it's not part of the agenda that's for the greater whole, if you don't believe in this, and that's one thing I noticed in Cali. You're gonna go to Cali, you're gonna go travel nurse, you're gonna see that if you talk and interact with people, they have one very large view. I don't want to share the view, and if you don't believe in the view, you're gonna get kind of called out on it. You're gonna be looked at funny, man.
Yeah, if that's the thing where these, especially like California, I haven't been to California.
It's like the hive mindset.
Yeah, and if you're not with us, you're against us.
Yep.
But that's not how it should be. Like, I'll be the first one to tell you, like, I voted for Obama, but then again, I voted for Trump last election too. So like, we have two-party systems, but it's just like we are entitled to our opinions. Just because, like if you nurses out there, look at your unit. Like, sometimes you guys talk politics, but I guarantee you guys don't all agree on the same thing, right?
Sure.
And yeah, you guys are still able to, A, help each other, B, help the patients, and 3, work together as a team, right? So why can't we do that in society? Like, we all have our opinions. Why? We're all different. So if we're all different, do you not expect others to have different opinions on things, different viewpoints? If we're all different, we didn't all come from the same mom, same dad, right? We're not fucking robots. We have a brain, and our brains work differently. Like, mental illnesses, some people have mental illness, some people don't, and we're so unique and so different where one of our benefits to being humans and to be able to think and form opinion is the wide variety of opinions that we could form. Because even though someone might have a ridiculous opinion that is never going to come true, guess what? Just for that putting that opinion on there, that's false. So that kind of narrows down like your opinions. Just because someone is batshit crazy doesn't mean you should ignore them completely as a human being. Because them being batshit crazy kind of lets you know, hey, that's kind of thinking that I don't want.
Yeah, not only that, but like in the entrepreneur sphere, you always tell yourself you have to think outside the box. Mm-hmm. You can't do groupthink. Like, you want people with different ideas, Like, imagine if we had a group of friends that no one disagrees and everybody like thinks alike. Well, if one person likes the drug, we're all just gonna hop on a bandwagon. No one's gonna say no or that's wrong. And that's what's kind of cool, because you can sit down with people and share ideas and compare. And because you guys have different opinions, you guys share perspectives and you guys grow because you guys are both kind of like thinking and bouncing back ideas,
Yeah.
But speaking of political things, the last thing is the Democratic Party in 2020 is calling an end to the Forever Wars. The Forever Wars have been going on for the past 19 years. As you know, we got into Iraq, Afghanistan, and we just have a long American history of conflict in the Middle East. The amazing war on terror, the war against, what is it called? ISIS, but it was also the war on the nuclear bombs. What we call it?
I forgot what's it called, but we don't want Middle East have any kind of nuclear. Wait, the Cold War?
Not the Cold War. We thought that Iraq had weapons of mass destruction. That's exactly what he said. There we go. And we're still fighting the same damn wars. We had 2 presidents in the past that said we're gonna pull out. Obama thought he's gonna pull out. Trump said he's gonna do some shit too, didn't. And it's just like, we literally have spent upwards to $6 trillion on fighting them over the past 2 decades. And it's like, I hope we could end this, man.
Yeah. If you guys gotta realize that, like, just because there's a new president doesn't mean that it's gonna be an automatic switch in policy. You guys gotta realize that these policies are being built out for years and years and years, and you can't just quit a policy or just leave a war. And a lot of times the presidents get reelected. So 4 years, yeah, but they end up serving 8 because most of the time they get reelected, right, for the second term. That's just how it is. So if you're a president and let's say you start a war on year number 2. So guess what? If you start that war on year number 2 on presidency and you're president for 8 years, guess what? That war is going to go on for 6 more years. And then the next person that comes in, even though it's new administration, the war's already started. You're already 6 years into that war. Your options of pulling out right there, right then are probably gone. For sure gone. Because you can't just fight a war for 6 years and say, oh, I'm a Republican now, so we're all going to leave because the Democrats started this war. No, because that's just going to cause more shit. Stuff's going to even go crazier, because if you're in the middle of a war and you decide to pull out, guess what? The whole infrastructure is damaged. Who are you going to put back in power in that country? Who's winning? Whose side are we on? Like how is that? We got to figure it out. We can't just leave. Ideally, that would be great if we could just leave and then everything goes on its merry way, but that's not how it works. Yeah. Same with like policy, same with like healthcare, same with any kind of policy. Like, this is instilled. And some of these policies, they might sign a policy now, but that policy is not going to go into full effect until 8 years from now, 10 years from now. So we might not even be your administration. But it's just like you putting things forward for the next person to kind of finish. And that next person is finishing the other president's stuff, and plus they're starting a new trend of their own stuff. So it's not just like, bang, fresh blank slate. It's never like that.
Yeah, and that's how it started. I think Bill Clinton came to power in the 90s, and I think we had issues with Iraq before. until Hussein invaded Kuwait. That's when he stepped in, started a bunch of shit. Bush came in, this whole thing happened, went into Afghanistan, Iraq, then Pakistan, I think Somalia at one point because we thought there's terrorists there as well. Obama came in. I mean, Bush invaded 4 countries and bombed them. Obama came in and he actually bombed 7, one of which I'm like very interested in, which was like Libya, you know? Like Libya happened so damn quick. Those that don't know where Libya is, it's North Africa, little country by where? Jeez.
Yeah.
Bordering potentially, I don't even know, man. But it's in North Africa. Anyways, that guy he was building a currency backed up by gold to sell oil, and as you guys know, most countries are selling oil.
Actually, Egypt or Libya is actually a pretty big country. You said it's small, but it's next. It's in between Egypt and Algeria.
Perfect. Thank you so much. You know how how Joe Rogan has like a young Jamie? We should get like a little young Jamie.
Young Lucas.
Young Lucas, man. Thank you for the tip there. But yeah, like in Libya, like we were selling oil in USD dollars. Petrodollar, if you want to call that. And then Libya was supposed to make up a new currency to sell oil, Gaddafi. That was a huge, basically a hit to potentially our economy and other Arab countries. What did we do? Spread some propaganda. He was a dictator. He was killing people. Like a couple days later, we did a no-fly zone over that country. Then March 19th in 2011, which was on my birthday, Obama said we're just going to bomb the damn dude. Shot up, I don't know how many Tomahawk missiles, but it was worth billions of dollars. Killed the damn guy. And that's just how policy's done sometimes, man. And we say that we did it in the name of democracy, but did we? Did we do it for economical gains? Did we do it for the sake of oil? You know what I mean? And it's messed up because, you know, we're like the low people in a way. Like, you know, we're in the bottom of the totem pole, man. And we just see this shit happening and you're trying to make sense of it. And it's like, what the fudge, man?
And and we're like the bottom of the totem pole. So they could feed us whatever information they want because we're not there with the higher ups. So like Matt said, you know, the president named her as like a social justice victory. It's a victory for the American people. It's a victory for democracy. But if you really think about it, or if you really look it up, is it really a battle for democracy or is it a battle for money? You know, because if you think about it, it's gonna sound pretty shitty if someone says, "Hey, we're gonna bomb Libya because we want the oil to stay in our currency." It sounds kind of shitty. But then if you say, "Hey, we want to bomb Libya because if you don't bomb Libya, our economy is going to go to shit. You guys are not going to have a job. Everything's going to get devalued. US dollar isn't going to be worth as much. It's going to be a lot harder for you to live." That looks a little different.
Yeah.
You know, even though this is a war for money, no one's going to tell you it's a war for money. Because if they tell you straight up it's a war for money, it kind of sounds very shitty. But if you logically think about it, like it does sound shitty that it's a war for money. But then if this war is not won and we don't get the money, then guess what? The U.S. doesn't suffer.
Yep.
So it's kind of like Matt kept saying, like double-edged sword. Like it'll no matter what you do, it looks shitty. Doesn't matter if you're fighting for democracy. Doesn't matter if you're fighting for money. Doesn't matter if you're fighting for oil. People are gonna die. And just like with every war, the winner tends to seek more of the benefit. You know, except for like World War II, World War I, where all of Europe was destroyed. So who the fuck was the winner with that one? But
yeah, it's just like, now I'm like, food for thought here, guys. This is all opinion. It always is, right? Grain of salt. But like, let's just say the whole Belarus thing that's happening now with the protests, like maybe this is just a pro-Western propaganda, right? You have Russia that's influenced that one country in Europe, and Western and the European Union wants to get rid of him, right? So let's put propaganda that, hey, he's a dictator, he's doing bad. You basically hijack fucking Facebook, right? Whoever controls that shit, throw some propaganda on the people that, hey, your country's bad, it's suffering. You're going to get people to start, protesting in the streets. Look what happened in Egypt when they overthrew their Muslim Brotherhood people, whatever, you know? Like, we say that, hey, CIA went in there and they were paying fucking protesters. So what makes you think we can't do it in our own country or in other countries, you know? And that's the damn thing. By the way, I think we're some fucking badass nurses because we could podcast and interview about nursing and we just talk about war and other shit. So if you guys like it, we freaking appreciate it because I could talk about this shit all day.
Yeah. All right, guys. Thank you for tuning in. Check us on our Fridays, every Friday. Patreon coming soon. Live stream coming soon. We were going to live stream a few days ago, but then we were having some OBS studio issues, so we had to pass on that. And yeah, vlog coming soon. No dates. Matt gave a little bit of a a little bit of timetable,
Curveball.
but we'll see. We'll see. We're moving, and then see you guys in California. A few months, not a few months, but a few weeks.
Ciao.
That we can give you accurate timetable. That's gonna be mid-September.
Mid-September.
Yeah. Peace out, guys.